With Tesla, things happen slow and then suddenly. Right now, Tesla's entering its next growth wave and most investors don't see it coming. A new Model Y, a Robotaxi rollout that's accelerating, entry into India, Grok showing up in the cars, everything we used to dream about, it's now real. Wall Street still sees small incremental moves, but what happens next could come fast and hard. Tesla's growth story is just getting started. We got the bulls here with us today. I've got Jeff Lutz, also known as Mr. Incredible, the Rational Bull. We got Tesla Boomer Mama, the Queen, Alexandra Merz, the Power Bull. And today we've got Larry Goldberg, the Golden Bull. Welcome, everybody. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Things have happened just this weekend, this week. Let's start off as we normally do. Talk Tesla stock first. We got the Robotaxi Wars. We're going to talk about the things, quite a number of things that Tesla did to expand their Robotaxi, but we got some new people coming in. Waymo responded. We've got Uber and coming in as well. I just called it cars because there's quite a number of things associated with the vehicles that has happened in India, Grok in cars, and then we got to talk Q2. And then we'll end with quick fire questions. That seems to be quite popular these days. So let's start off with you, Larry. We haven't heard from you in a while. What do you think is going on with the stock, and how do you see it happening in the second half of this year? The company and the product. I don't look at the quarterly stock movement.
A very realistic bull, questioning certain decisions.
The Rational Bull. We enjoy listening to bears.
We're looking for the red flags. You're supposed to react.
Yeah, we only earned 50 cents a share the last quarter. I mean, come on, guys.
Right. So I think the stock is pretty much marking time. It's being sent backwards and forwards by trade deals done by institutions and or panic or otherwise by the retailers. I don't think it matters until we see clarity on the rollout of the Robotaxi and the evolution of the bot. I think these are much more important. These are very important things to the stock price. Until we see that, the stock price is really just, bouncing backwards and forwards with the sentiment. I think there's going to be some pressure on the stock price with the quarterly report next week, unless there's a very good shareholder conference call and there's some really material information that the company reveals. So I think we're in this holding pattern until we see the momentum build with the Robotaxi and the launch of the Cybercab. And I don't know that the new models are going to see much movement, because we're no longer a car company. The car company aspect of our business is really not the principal driver of the story. I think there could be some turbulence in the stock price with the quarterly call, because we're going to see, the issue of the credits being dealt with. It's not good news for the company. And so that could induce some turbulence. So the earnings could be disappointing in terms of what the company brings to the story. So that's the only issues I see. But otherwise, I think we're on track as far as the rollout of the Robotaxi is concerned. I suspect we're going to be on track with the Cybercab launch, and a lot will turn on how things are going with the bot. So that's where I think we are.
Very nice. Nice, complete answer. Thank you, Larry, for 2025. Alexandra, you always have been saying since last year, 2026 is going to be the year that it's going to really take off. Are you still feeling that way, despite the fact that Robotaxi launched now? Most people are saying that the launch is a success and things are expanding fast.
Yeah, I am. I still think this is going to take some time. There are a couple of things that can come later in Q3 that may help the stock. One being that middle of September, we have the proxy. In that, we should have the new compensation plan for Elon. If it's very ambitious, what they're putting down there, that may actually help. The second is this maybe investment into XAI. I think that's going to be, something that Wall Street appreciates, despite what Gary tells us. Then at the end of Q3, I think we'll see quite good numbers out of North America, especially America, because the 7,500 bonus is going to go away. So I do expect that lots of Ys and 3s will be sold this quarter, but we also will see increased numbers in Canada because of the tariff chess move of now bringing them in from Berlin. I think that was a very good move, having the price is much lower, and that's going to help sales in Canada. So Q3 could actually be, end of Q3 can actually bring some good surprises. But to get to your general picture, yes, we need, or Wall Street needs, I don't think we need, but Wall Street needs confirmation that financial results come now from software as a service and the Robotaxi services. And that is going, Elon told us, that is going to be second half of 2026. So I'm sure he's going to confirm that in this earnings call. I think actually, just to add to the earnings call news, it can be quite a cumbersome earnings call. I think they're going to address the delays in rollouts. They may actually even discuss an adjustment of the numbers of bots produced this year. So lots of stuff is probably going to be tempered a bit because of tariffs, because of supply chain issues, whatever. So those are going to be news that the short-term traders are not going to appreciate. But why 2026? Yes, we will have first significant income from software as a service and the robotaxis. Will also have significantly more income on energy, because Shanghai will be starting to really log those sales. Again, I don't think we have enough information yet, and I hope somebody on the SAY platform is going to ask about how in China the accounting of energy contracts is working. Is it comparable to what is happening in the US or not, so that we get a little bit more of a feel of how this is all going to roll out. And then, of course, when is the more affordable vehicle coming? Is it coming beginning of Q4, like I suspect? Is it coming later? And obviously, when will robotaxis start production? Is it going to be Q2 2026 or not? So all these things are still in movement. Everything is a little bit slower than we all hoped for, even though it's negligibly slower. Nobody's going to ask anymore in a couple of quarters how slow or how quick it was. But at the moment, we still feel that.
Oh, can I ask you a question for the panel? And you don't have to answer if you don't want to. This is not financial advice, but are each of you, if you're willing to answer, have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing? Staying firm with the stock?
I didn't change anything. I still have part of my 401k money to invest, and I haven't invested it yet.
So you're thinking it might go down a little bit more, or are you just kind of
I do think that we may have a little, but I mean, this is on the margin. This is a little amount. Every year in my age, I have 61,000 to invest. I invested half of it already, and it's more for the fun of trying to time, but I'm really bad at timing. So at the moment, I'm still sitting on 30,000, and it's not a huge amount. Nothing compared to the stock that I'm holding.
Okay, you guys don't want to answer? You don't have to.
I was waiting for Jeff to talk, but I'm standing pat at this point. I'm very comfortable with my allocation to Tesla.
Okay. But you, Jeff, you got a good pulse on the pulse of what do you think about the sentiment of the stock?
Yeah, no, I think everybody's trying to pin a narrative. It's the most talked about stock, I think, in the market, even though there's so many other things happening in the market with other companies, but it just gets, for whatever reason, it has this huge following, people that are pro the stock and a huge following of people that are against it. But none of these narratives, I think these narratives to me are just they're floating around the stock, but you have to really look at convergence and what's really happening in front of us. And what's really happening in front of us is if you just look at automobiles, there is weakening happening in the auto market. It is more difficult to make a vehicle now. There are input tariffs on everybody. Tesla has positioned themselves better than other companies, but they're not they're not, untouched by what's going on with tariffs, but they have positioned themselves fairly well. But it is more difficult to produce an automobile now, both physically and getting the parts, and then of course the cost structure of it. But these narratives, everybody keeps trying to pin these narratives on the company, and I just don't know, which ones are ultimately going to stick, because there's also counter narratives to all of them. For example, so the auto business, we talked about what's going on more broadly. As you start pinning it down to Tesla, so they are introducing incrementally new models, and they're really building off of the Model Y and the success of that platform. And this is what successful companies do when they have a successful product line. The negative spin to that is, well, there's not tremendous innovation. That's what you actually want to do, is you really want to capitalize on that existing cost structure and figure out how to bring it lower with more products that serve different segments. So I actually like what they're doing there. I agree with Alexandra that there's going to be some amount of pull forward. And the question is going to be, is going forward after that, what does that look like? And at least in North America. And I think there's going to be a bit of a counterbalance going on here, because what you had in the first couple of quarters this year is you had other auto companies basically pushing out and pulling forward inventory and pushing a lot of cars into the channel. I think it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to build and ship cars and import them into the US. 4 of the top 10 EVs in the US that are not Teslas are made in Mexico. And it's not like those explode tomorrow, but I think they're going to be under tremendous pressure when you look at the size of these tariffs. But then you talk about the credits and the company, there's counter narratives to all these things. The credits are not going away. More than 50% of those credits come from outside of the US. So I think there'll be a gradient effect with those, both with other auto manufacturers capitulating and needing to buy more of those credits, both outside of the US but I think there's kind of a counterbalancing narrative to all these things, but something to keep an eye on. The company's clearly transitioning towards this autonomous future, but it's much closer than it's ever been before. Now we're seeing it happen in real time. So I think the narrative, to answer your question, I think Wall Street is going to measure the slope of the line in terms of robotaxi deployment, both the size and surface area, number of cities, and number of vehicles. I think these are going to be more of the key measurements, and they're going to get out ahead of, I'm going to wait for the balance sheet. I'm going to wait to see how it actually looks. It's not going to look good in the beginning. It's going to be low volumes, underutilization, and them just expanding. But I think what Wall Street's going to get ahead, they're going to look at the slope of the line is what I believe is going to happen. I mean, look what's happening right now in the market. Rocket Lab didn't all of a sudden overtake SpaceX in terms of launches, but they've doubled their stock price in a month or more. Same with ASTS and the space mobiles. Nothing's happened in terms of actually delivering to the bottom line yet, but it's more of what can be delivered in the future. So I think Wall Street's going to measure that growth and the slope of that line, and they're going to jump out ahead of it. And the question is going to be when. So I think it's really hard to pin this down week by week or day by day, but I think they're going to get out ahead of it and it looks like in the early goings, it looks like the slope of that line is fairly steep in Tesla's autonomy deployment.
We'll talk a little bit more about the Robotaxi Wars. Alexandra, I asked this question to Larry. We're going to do a show on that. But ARK Invest, they bought more stock in the last few days, $53 million. And in the last month, it looks like that they put in $100 million worth of that.
You should put my. Oh, there you are. Okay, I was complaining too early. There we go. Okay.
I'm setting you up. You are like the killer.
Okay. Here I am.
Here you are. You said this is a statement. So a lot of people, every once in a while, you'll see them sell or buy, and you're very good at pointing out that no, this is just them, adjusting their portfolio because if they hit their 10% mark or whatever. But this time you said, no, this is a statement. This is what they've been buying. Here's exactly what they've been doing and the vehicles that they've been doing that. So tell us what exactly, do you think this is a big deal?
It's great that they're buying. Of course, it's always a statement, but let me explain what happens. And actually, if you don't mind, keep that post of mine up there because it gives me the numbers I need. So in ARK-K, Tesla was always the number one position, but it had decreased to 9.65% because the other top positions increased so much. Bitcoin went nearly to 120,000, if I recall, more or whatever. So you had this phenomenon that the fund itself had a good performance, but Tesla is stuck more or less at the 315 range, didn't do much. So the percentage of Tesla actually went down at 9.65%. It wasn't close to 10% anymore. And they purchased enough to be close to the 10% again, because they had this gap just by pure mechanics, okay? And in ARKW, it's even more. ARKW is the financial and tech sector. And there, Tesla came down to number 4 position, now only 6.67%. And so there they made the real statement. They put 1% of the fund by selling actually some Bitcoin. You see the third line in exactly. So that the higher up position gave up some of their air and gave it to the Tesla position, where she thinks Tesla is going to catch up soon. So yes, it was a statement, clearly is a statement, both of them, but there was also the air necessary to be filled because of these other movements.
There you go. I knew you'd explain that. That makes sense. So we are seeing that, but she's a bull. So this is a bull.
Sure.
But do you think that this is a signal that, okay, I'm seeing Robotaxi, it's launched, it's time for me to put in?
And she could have, she could have waited, and she did it now. So I do believe she just well, yeah, with my 30,000, that is not going to move the market. I mean, from her, it is a statement. And whenever she does these, especially, I mean, buying for 1% of a portfolio, that is consequential, right? I mean, you have to know these people have very strict limits when they sell their funds, especially to institutions. The institutions tell them, don't do this, don't go overboard, don't, invest more. How many times have we discussed their 10% limit and how stupid I find that? But that is to satisfy the institutional investors, which is about half of their funds. And so the fact that there was a huge gap and that she filled it so consequentially shows she wants them at this price now, right? And so I think it is a statement, yes.
Whoa, boy, the three of you did such a great job of describing the entire scenario. So let's focus on Robotaxi Wars. 3 days ago, Tesla came out and said, we've got this new expanded geography.
Okay, tell us about it.
I call it the funny shape. I just call it the funny shape. But Waymo responded. And so today they announced that north to south, we're covering more ground in Austin. Safe and fully autonomous Waymo rides on Uber. So you can see that in the dark blue, that was the previous geography that they had. And now the light blue is extended. And if you compare it to Tesla, looks like that they're more than Tesla is at this point. So yeah, when I asked Larry this, he said, doesn't matter. Tesla is just going to do their own thing. They don't really care about Waymo. They're not a competitor to Waymo. They're just going to do whatever they need to do. But this is a little bit of fun of back and forth, right?
I just don't see Tesla viewing Waymo as, quote, the competition, unquote. I think Tesla have a plan, have a map in their mind of how to get from where they are to where they want to be. I think they're just executing on that plan. And they're doing it in a very deliberate, classic Tesla way. And we're going to see an ever-increasing speed of rollout on a national basis based upon the regulations, the regulation regime by state, by locality, the speed of progression of their plan and how well things are working, and the availability of infrastructure. So I just think they're executing. I don't think they give a fig about Waymo or whatever, because I think what they're selling is a different product. It's almost to a different market in a way, although the same customers end up buying it. But I mean, Waymo are not going to go away, but I don't think they're going to easily compete with what Tesla is able to deliver.
Jeff?
No, I agree with that. It just Tesla's doing their own thing. They're going to have their own slope of their line. It's going to be fairly dramatic, I believe, in terms of the area, the surface area, the number of vehicles, and then more importantly, when they get the scale, their cost structure, we just have to give it a bit of time, because this is literally, we're in the third week or fourth week, but it's going to be the slope of the line in those three areas that's going to matter. So I don't think they're competing with anybody. I think there is a red ocean out there, this red ocean, blue ocean concept of companies that mount a lot of sensors on their cars, and they remanufacture car. I think there's a whole market for that. And you saw the announcement today with Lucid and Neuro and Uber, and once you throw NVIDIA in that, how many people are going to have their fingers in that pie if you start thinking about the economics of those kind of deals? So I think there's a whole red ocean of those, and we're going to see those. So I think on the Tesla bull side, there's always this conversation of it's going to be, Tesla or nobody. It's not going to be the case. There are going to be people out there that attempt to compete, but I think the lifespan of their companies or the breadth of their offerings there's going to have significant roll off. And I think that's the thing to look out for. So I go back to the slope of the line with Tesla. I think they're on their own. They're marching to their own beat.
Absolutely.
I disagree. Yeah, I don't agree. Yeah.
Let me maybe first state mine, and then you can try to arbitrate. So first of all, yes, Google will finance Waymo for many, many years to come. There is just enough money behind it that it doesn't matter to them to throw a couple billions per year on it. Second, I'm not hating on Waymo. They actually help us because they did a lot of administration and permit getting for years now, so that we just have to plug it in and get it done. So it's much easier to get a permit in Phoenix now than it would have been years ago. I don't like their business concept. I don't like what they're doing, but there are so many Tesla haters out there, including the press, that Waymo or any stupid partnership of Uber with Lucid or I don't know what get headlines and get positive cheering just because that's what these people want to do. So should we ignore it? Is it noise? Yes, we should. And it is noise. It has nothing to do with what Tesla is going to do and in what time zone it's going to do. And now the headline is going to be that Waymo has a bigger zone and doesn't do funny shapes and whatever. Keep them busy with those noise while they're talking about that. They're not talking about anything else. But it's the noise it is. It's not more.
So I would just like to tell you that Morgan Stanley put out a note today. I don't know if you've seen it, if you guys have seen it, but it's a note about Lucid and Uber, and they talk about Gravity as the AI socket. They said that, that they had foretold that Lucid's Gravity was kind of the physical device that was going to be a socket for AI, and this is the realization of it. And they say Lucid's largest shareholder, 64% stake in the company, which is obviously the Saudi Arabia fund, also maintains a significant stake in Uber. I don't know if you all know it, but they have a 4% stake in Uber. And so they really brought this together.
That's what happened.
And our upgrade of Lucid shares in March was driven by what we believed was the market underappreciating the strategic opportunities of autonomy, manufacturing, on-ramping China, etc., facing the company. So they actually gave Lucid a bit of, a good mark for this, and they said it's good and it shows that Lucid is in the game. I just have to say that if this is Uber's way of getting into the self-driving market, they are misleading themselves. They're completely they're going to be very disillusioned. But again, I mean, this simply restates the point that Jeff was making, and the point that Alexandra was making. None of this has anything to do with what Tesla's doing. What Tesla's doing is a completely different product, a product that will somewhat marginalize all these other products that won't entirely entirely disappear. This won't be a game of one. This will be a game of 1 plus n. But I think that Tesla are going to capture a very significant portion of the market, a portion of the market that these other competitors haven't even imagined would be part of the market. I think they see this as ancillary to, the self-drive market, where you're driving your own car and so on. And they see this as being marginal to that market. Tesla's approach is no, this is going to replace the market. This is going to replace driving cars that are driven by human beings. This is going to eliminate cars that, for a very large percentage of the population. And so I think we're going to see a sea change in human behavior in the forthcoming years. And that sea change is not what Morgan Stanley's talking about, not what Lucid, Gravity, and Uber are aiming at. It's a whole different world.
And let me add 2 things and drive this home. That's funny. Tesla will have the pricing power. Tesla is the only player in this game who can drive the prices down, and they're out. So the king of this market is Tesla. And if they want to drive the other ones out, not that I think that would be a goal, but that could be it. And the second one is this will coincide with Tony Seber's Age of Abundance. Yeah. So we will have at the same time this whole AI shift, this whole shift to a new world with a new pattern of usage of transportation. And none of the other players think that. At the moment, they just think, how can we integrate, all this gear that we're mounting and make this a little bit more efficient. There is nobody who understands that this is going to be part of a much larger project of how humanity will work past their days, organize their lives. This is going to be completely different in a universe that has abundance.
And I'll add to those 2 points too. If you're Uber, what else can you do besides go out and machine gun and shotgun as many quote unquote partnerships as possible? Because if you're not doing that and you don't have your own autonomy solution, you're not cutting out one of those fingers in the pie from all those different companies. If you're not able to do that, then all you can do is go out and machine gun partnerships. And what I will remind people of is I think it was just over a year ago, or may have been longer, but they had inked a deal. They announced a deal with GM Cruise within, I think, 60 days of Cruise basically saying, we're not a thing. We're not even going to operate anymore. They had inked a partnership with Cruise. So it just gives you an idea of the shelf life of some of these deals and kind of how far they can see ahead. And I just saying, if you're Uber, what else could you be doing besides trying to make as many partnerships as possible if one of them is not going to be Tesla?
To be fair, Jeff, GM have inked a lot of deals that went nowhere in a very short period of time.
Yeah. So I have a slight different opinion than you guys. So yes, you're absolutely correct. Tesla is going to march their own beat of their own drum. They have their own business model. They have their own goals. Everything's very, very different. They don't need to worry about anybody else. But yeah, they will respond to competition. There is going to be a price war that's going to happen, led by Tesla, that's going to force everybody to react. They show this geography that Waymo's got and Uber in Austin. So then Tesla comes in and does the same geography or something's a little bit different. Then they expand it.
That was complete. You can't be more wrong, Herbert.
I'm not saying that. Okay. I'm not saying that they're reacting. If a competitor does something, you bet you're going to do something to react to it. I will say this.
They put up their price and they put out a geography that was completely different.
No, I know. I know that. That's got nothing to do with...
I'm thinking about...
I get that. I get that. But there will be... okay, I don't know how to explain it, but,
Look,
if Waymo does this, they do this, Tesla will respond and they will do something funnier.
They will not respond. They will not respond. Tesla will not respond. Tesla have a roadmap in front of them. They're going to follow that roadmap. Look, they started at one price. They put their price up above the price of Waymo. I mean, how can you say they're looking at what Waymo's doing?
It's not above the price of Waymo.
They have a superior product.
Yeah, they're not charging $690 is not more expensive than Waymo's offering.
It absolutely is in many rides. I've done the ride on Waymo and in Tesla. I mean,
it's $2 a mile, $4 a mile for Waymo. Is what they're charging. So
it depends on the time of day. But
yeah,
I mean, Tesla are just executing according to their plan. They're not looking at Waymo at all. Anyway, we can agree to disagree.
I agreed with that they're going to do their own plan, but to say that they're not going to, have fun and reply back, and they love competition and they're going to tease each other.
I don't think so. I think Tesla is never playing this competition game, not with cars, not now with Waymo. But let me add something because Jeff put me on the right path for that. I asked Grok to list me all the partnerships of Uber. So they obviously have shifted from developing its own autonomous technology to now partnering. There is no doubt about that anymore. So give me a long breath. Waymo, WeRide, May Mobility, Averide, Cruise, Volkswagen, Baidu, Pony AI, Motional, Momenta, Toyota, NVIDIA, BYD, Aurora, Volvo, Kotken, Nuro, Surf, Torque, Avomo, and Move Cars. That's where we are now. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, I'm sure they have a nice department of people signing deals. I mean, can you imagine how busy you can be, printing this all out and getting this all signed and all these dinners that are involved? But this is keeping everybody busy, but not with the right stuff.
And all those names you mentioned, have you seen how many cars they have out on the road?
Yeah, nothing. And I mean, the Waymo deal is exclusively for Jaguars, and now they're not bringing any Jaguars anymore to the US, so that's going to help. So I don't know. I really don't know.
This is the deal that Uber just signed with Lucid, 6 years. So that means basically, a long time from now, they're going to invest $300 million and they're going to buy these Lucid Gravities. How many are they going to buy? Well, $300 million, 20,000 Robotaxis is what they're claiming. But of course, we've seen this before. Large numbers like that, it never ends up happening like that. And then here, what's interesting is so Uber is paying Lucid
$150,000 a vehicle.
Oh, good, yeah.
That's going to make it really, really juicy and profitable. Yum,
Uber is paying Lucid for this.
They are big vehicles. They are big vehicles.
And there's no mention of what's Neuro's take. Neuro is a self-driving technology. They're going to be using that.
I think Neuro is incorporated into the vehicle, Herbert.
Yeah, you think that Lucid pays Neuro something.
Yeah. Lucid does the integration, and then they sell the end vehicle at $300,000 at $150,000 to.
The little I know about Nuro is that they're actually specialized in doing deliveries. That's what they wanted to do. So maybe now they're going to go into.
Yeah, but there's no delivery vehicle that they've made yet.
Yeah, this is all demos. This is all fake things. Here's an example. I like this ending here because you can actually see what they did was, oops, is it gone? What they did was actually a vehicle that is meant for delivery. Oops, did I miss it? Where is it? Is it here? Yeah. And then you can actually see what it looks like. Oh, geez, I keep going too late, I think. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Where is it? Where they actually see the actual vehicle of how you open it up. Maybe it's the other one. Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is a hedge for them with their other participants that they've signed deals with, essentially. So for them, this gives them pricing power. So when they go back and have a conversation with BYD or Waymo or whomever, they have another partner that says, okay, we're getting this service and we're getting it. We think that this is a fair price. So this is, this again, I go back to my original statement. This is all Uber can do, which is sign a lot of these deals. Most of them will not get to scale or come to fruition. They'll be able to just back out of them. And then the ones that remain give them some sort of competitive framework for them to have multiple players in the same market compete, and then they continue to drive the cost structure down. This is a procurement game for them at this point. This isn't less of a technology game. The Tesla is playing the vertically integrated technology game where they own their own destiny. They own their own cost structure, from the base layer of silicon to the cleaning head that cleans the touchscreen in the car. That's all Tesla owns. So they have more ownership of their cost structure. Here you've got multiple hands in the pie, and then you have multiple partners. Again, a lot of these are not going to get the scale. A few of them will, and then they'll allow them to compete. If they're single sourced in a market, they really die. I mean, they really run into a huge problem.
And at the moment, Uber is spending money on all of this, not getting anything in, but spending money out. So how long that's going to last? I mean, it's all nice. We can watch this, but it's all just noise. I think we should just completely ignore all this stuff.
Yep. True. So Robotaxi rollout success? You guys were happy with what you saw? What you're seeing?
So far, so good. So far, so good.
And keep on slowly but surely advancing larger areas, more cities. I mean, if really in a month we're in the Bay Area, that would be phenomenal. Phoenix seems to come soon. I actually heard of a blind Tesla follower who is very enthusiastic to start testing it there. And he said that he heard stuff out of the Phoenix administration that it's going very well with the approvals, because obviously, and I like that. I like that, people with disabilities reach out to their administrations and say, look, we're really waiting for this. This is going to be a game changer for us. Yeah. And it makes it just so much more tangible how important these tools are, not only for us, everybody's, but also for people with disabilities.
Yeah, I don't think it could go much better at this point. And I think the key for Tesla is they're human limited probably at this point. And the key for them is to overcome these thresholds where they don't need as much human oversight. That I think those are key internal things that they're looking at in Tesla. And then of course, being flawless from a safety perspective, I think those are key things. And I go back to the slope of the line. I think they're ultimately driving a very steep slope of that line. And they have the tech stack that's going to enable them to do that.
Correct. Yeah.
Slope of the line, then you're waiting for the next rollout, the next expansion?
When I say slope of the line, it's number of vehicles, it's in its surface area. I think those are the key things. And of course, the other inverse of that slope would be the cost structure, their underlying cost structure per ride that they would be driving lower. So I think these are all the things that they're looking at. But right now, to me, it's just about technical rollout and execution. They know that from a tech stack perspective that they've designed a superior solution from a cost structure perspective. And it's really about convergence, right? But right now, they could be stalled or stopped if they have a safety issue. I think they're very focused on a very careful, safe rollout. And that's what anybody would do. I thought all the criticisms are really unfounded. That's what if this is your own company, you would be extremely vigilant up front, because this is when all the eyes are on it as well.
Yeah, Jeff, you're right. I think they are absolutely not focused on cost at this point. They're absolutely not focused on anything but getting some degree of operational assessment, some confidence in operational assessment before they go to the next level. I think they're so far from beginning to get up to moving the slope up. So this is like very early beta. It's a situation that we could be in for several months before they start actually expanding the physical, the number of sites, and also and at that point we will start seeing the slope of the line. We're not going to see a slope of the line for a while.
All right. Next thing to talk about is there was new vehicles that Tesla did launch. So people are a little bit surprised. One of them is a 6-seater version of the Model Y, and the other one is a rear-wheel drive long-range version of Model 3. 400 miles? is possibly what it can do, the Model 3. But the Model Y, look at the logo, right? The three, kind of a Y with three rows, because that refers to the rows. This is what a regular Model Y looks like. And then in the silhouette would be what the new Model Y L would look like. And then you can see here what, maybe there's more room for the 3 rows in the back. It is 6 seats, 7 inches longer than the current Model Y. New wheels, new seats, new design, new spoiler. This is not a more affordable vehicle. And in fact, it's in China, it's priced at $56,000, which I think is $13,000 more than the existing regular Model Y. Here's what the photos look like. Jeff, what was your reaction when you heard this?
This is what I expected, which is the incremental COGS to build this relative to the price increase. This is going to be a jump in gross margin for Tesla to build and ship this vehicle. It won't be from day one, but when they get this to scale pretty rapidly, I would say in a few months, this vehicle will be a higher gross margin vehicle for them to build. And if you go back to that silhouette, from a manufacturing perspective, there is no new tooling involved. There is no new. You're reprogramming robots. You're reprogramming. It's a reprogramming of the line, but it's the existing capex. So now you start adding, when you add product segments. So this will address a segment for people that have a larger family or want to have a taxi service that can carry more people. And when you start addressing these larger segments, now you can really start driving more volume into these manufacturing lines. So I do think eventually they'll build this globally. It probably starts in China because that's probably the most rapid product development site and center for them to do these quicker changes and then get them into production. But I think it will go more broadly. And I do think that they're going to produce a smaller vehicle as well off of this platform. So I think that Tesla is going to do all the above. I think they're going to serve new segments, and they're going to continue to take the cost structure lower, and they'll offer that as an option as well.
Jeff, do you think that they'll sell a lot of this? What's your guess? 20,000, 50,000? It's a higher margin, right? That's what you're saying. It's going to be really a good margin for Tesla. Is it more than Model X, right? Which is like tiddly numbers, or is this going to be decent numbers, 50,000 or more? It's
going to be more. Yeah, I mean, Model X is an $80,000 to $100,000 vehicle. All in when you start adding everything in, and this is meaningfully lower. This is in the mid 50s. So I do think they'll be able to sell more. This is before any incentives, any local incentives. So I think it would, it could be in a couple of 100,000 additional vehicles potentially from this.
Couple 100,000
annualized.
Okay. That's huge.
Yeah, possibly. Well, yeah. And again, the Model Y itself is 1.2 million units a year. So you're taking the most successful vehicle
Jeff, I can see them selling that many, but without additional lines, how are they going to manufacture more of them?
Well, they're highly underutilized right now. So if you look in Berlin, if you look in Austin, even in Shanghai,
Shanghai. Are they underutilized in Shanghai by that amount?
Not near the extent of Berlin and Austin, but to say that there's no room for them to be able to manufacture these things, I think would not be the case. They've got more capacity than they're currently using. So this goes back to Tesla's commentary of them having upward closer to 3 million units of production capability, but their production levels are much lower. So this is to me this march to getting to 2.5 to 3 million units of production. Again, it's not going to happen this year. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's adding these vehicle segments that'll help them get there.
And would they be able to shorten the Model Y to a 2-door, hatchback format at a lower price?
I don't know exactly what the changes would be involved, but I think they can reduce the size of the existing Model Y and then start serving that segment of people that want a smaller crossover SUV. Right. And use the same manufacturing line. Again, this is reprogramming of robots. This isn't, I need all brand new tooling everywhere. So this is where they get a lot more CapEx leverage. These are highly depreciated lines too. So this actually helps the existing Model Y cost structure as well. So this is a very good move for Tesla. But they've got to get this thing ramped. They've got to get the volumes out, and they've got to get moving on to the next one.
Jeff, why did they announce it today, but it won't be available in China until the fall? Let's assume that that's September, October.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we've seen reports that there is production happening. We don't know if it's small volume prototypes to get local qualification, or this is the start of production, and it was going to leak out anyway. Might as well announce it. That part is not clear to me. I don't think it's going to. Again, I think if you're a Model Y buyer, you want the 5-seat version, the standard size, or you want to explore this larger size. I don't think it's going to cause much of an Osborning issue. And then the new Xiaomi vehicle is not available in supply, so it's announced. There's orders for it, but they're not ramped. So I think you're going to get a lot of. I think you're going to get a lot of Model Y volume in China this quarter.
And then I think the compact car that is going to be announced, right, Alexandra? You're saying Q4, October.
Yeah, I still think it's possible. I mean, what I'm clear about is I don't think it's a good idea to bring it out during Q3. I think we should focus in America, because that's where it will come out first, on making Q3 as successful as possible, given that people still have that 7,500 reduction. If it's ready, and I think it is slowly starting production, if it is ready by then, I hope they will announce it and make it orderable. Is that even a word? So that you can order it straight away. That would be perfect, because I think it will create a lot of demand depending on the price. Remember, I have this hope that it would be below $200 a month for a lease. And so it would be great that it would be, product introduction and being able to order it and have it a couple of weeks later. That would be really, very smooth. So my hope is for 1st of October. Now, there's so much happening, right? There's so much happening on the governance side of Tesla. There's now so much happening on the Model Y and Model 3 for this quarter side. It may not be the first week of October. It may be later. And actually, I think that should be a question at this earnings call, because the last 2 earnings call, they maintained in their written documentation that production starts in the first half, right? We're now 3 weeks after first half. So did production start in the first half? If it did, well, what are you doing with them? Where are they hiding? When will you launch them? I think we should, push a little bit now, because we want answers.
Well, it's pretty clear production hasn't started. We would see that. I mean, Joe would have seen the castings. We would have seen that. And the other issue is
Joe seems to be doubtful about that. Because I tried to push Joe, saying, "Do you sure there's nothing?" And I didn't get an answer on that.
He's trying to be nice to you. He hasn't seen them. So I'm wondering.
That works. That always works with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what is your assumption then, Alexandra? What is this lower cost model? Is it actually just a stripped down version of the Y, or is it a shorter version of the Y?
I think it's a shorter, stripped down version of the Y. And my joker guess, I have no idea, is that they will replace the glass roof with a non-glass roof, making it lighter, less battery utilization and all that. So it could be a completely on the wrong. I'm just
that would be a very expensive change for them.
But we'll see. I mean, glass is the expensive solution at the moment. It's more expensive than having
Not really, because of the structural strength of glass. They can avoid all the structural work they'll have to do for the roof. I'm not sure you're correct on that assumption.
Okay, I could be wrong. And I'm not going to bet. Usually I always love betting, but this is like my, pull it out of the assumption. So
yeah, the glass is not, the reason that they go to glass is because of the structural strength of the product. Anyway, the point is that, they introduced this longer Y without any fanfare, and it just happened overnight. I just think they could do the shorter Y with the same lack of fanfare. The only problem is we've seen no evidence of items being manufactured or hidden or,
You won't.
not be.
There's a
And I
reason
would-
for that.
Okay.
The reason is their level of vertical integration. So a lot of the leaks in product happen when you're going out to the supply base and you're asking for something, or they're transporting something between facilities. That's where a lot of the spy photos happen. There's a lot of background on this. So you won't see that as much with Tesla until you see them on the test track. So we're getting drone footage. We're getting all these weird angles. We don't know if it's a really bigger car or smaller car. But in general, when Tesla makes these minor body, I would say minor, but I mean, it's going to be a shorter vehicle. It's going to be a few centimeters longer. You're not going to really notice those things because all that work is machined and tooled and done in house. So they can just keep it under that structure. One final thing I just wanted to let the team be aware of is these global tariffs and then the kind of the back and forth between countries, it is causing considerable delays in supply chain and custom product development because companies have to make different decisions about where their source of supply is coming from, where a particular supplier is. We were depending on them, but now with tariffs, it may be this. So it is causing some amount of delay. It could be weeks, it could be a few months, but it's not zero. So just keep that in mind with these vehicles.
And it's been
Tesla's
going
not
on
immune.
for so long. I mean, I know I'm an impatient person, but I can't imagine that this administration thought it would be going on for so long. And it's just, there's one chapter after the next chapter after the next chapter. I'm not sure that this whole tariff topic has been managed the way it should have been.
Jeff, I first of all, thank you to this panel. It's just killer panel. But Jeff, boy, that was gold, what you just dropped. And I know Alexandra's going to tell me, well, then why don't you pay Jeff gold? Yeah, he deserves it.
We're going to unionize. I think we should use this glorious moment to let the people know that we're going to
You're going to unionize against me, the
Herbert
CEO.
Ong.
Okay,
Exactly.
well, Jeff, that was gold. I mean, that knowledge you just dropped there, there's few people in the community that can share that. Thank you for that. So low chance, there is a chance, is what you're saying, that the more affordable vehicle could be delayed because supply chain, tariffs, all this has been disrupted. But none of us believe that it's canceled. I mean, we'll find out. We should find out in a week from now, right? When the
we don't have
happens.
a commitment on the original date either. So we just know like first half, second half. We don't know anything.
Yeah.
Tesla's not selected a month or even a launch quarter for these things. So I think
So it's not
anything
like
we call
delayed.
delays, it'll all be relative. Yeah.
And then I want to ask you about India. So that was the other news that's happened a few days ago. Tesla is now officially selling cars in India. I'll play this in the background. But Jeff, I mean, it's not a new gigafactory. It's just getting a toehold, getting a foot in there. They opened up one of their Tesla stores in Mumbai. They have plans for multiple. I think there's like 7 stores throughout all of India that they're going to open up. They're selling it for pretty expensive, I think $70,000 price point, because it's I think the existing import tariffs of 70%.
Yeah.
So that's why $70,000.
There's a lot of misinformation on this one. Some of it's purposeful from the folks that bet against the company and the stock. This is what nobody's ever going to buy a car at this level. I've heard all of it. What Tesla is doing here is they are plowing a channel in India. They are creating a channel. They're getting a sales office, a showroom, the ability to eventually to service the vehicles. Like all this is being established so that there is a channel at whatever the volumes are, however small they are, there's a channel. Why are they doing that? Because behind this, they are going to produce lower cost vehicles and a meaningfully lower cost vehicle eventually with the Cybercab. And that is what this channel, this is basically establishing the channel for what's to come. And then of course they change everything with autonomy. So this is getting yourself in, getting all the import, export, getting everything set up, established, taxation. How are you going to take funds? How are you going to, this is what this is. This isn't meant to we're not going to be counting the number of Model Ys that are sold in India by the day. There's not going to be some big tally of that. This is for establishing the channel for what's to come.
Well, that's true, except they will actually sell quite a few cars. There are enough people in India, probably 10, 20,000 people who want to be the first in their community. At $50,000, it's not money for them that they'll buy it. But other than that, I mean, everything you've said is correct. I agree with you 100%. So don't be surprised to see 10, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 cars sold in India over the next year.
Yeah, there's
I'll take
700,000
a bet on the
millionaires
50K.
in India. As in, you don't think it's going to be that high? Jeff thinks it's under?
Well, it depends by, I mean, what model we're talking about, but yeah, we'll see. Larry's correct. There's a lot of people in India. So I think, but
there are a lot of people.
My broader point is,
at the level where 50,000, 100,000 is not money, but the prestige of owning the first Tesla in their community is pretty high.
So Grok in the cars, that's another big thing that we've been waiting for. Now it's here. Yes, it does not control the cars, but it's there.
Yes.
Just quick comments on that. Is that a big deal?
Do you have it, Larry or Jeff? I still can't download it.
I just got it. I got it in my Model X. I don't have it in the Cybertruck yet.
I've got it in my wife's Model 3, and I haven't been allowed to drive that car yet.
All right. But yeah, we've seen demos.
Who is micromanaging you, Larry? Maybe I can help. If you give us signs that who is your slave driver, I try to help.
Yeah, I'm just checking to see what it normally arrives in my Model 3 like 2 or 3 days later. So it's actually due to arrive.
Yeah, and Omar said that he went in the car and saw it only in the car app and not on the phone. So I did that, but no success.
No, it's got to be an upgrade because it's got to be upgrade to version 2025.25 plus. So
26,
I've got only
No, what Omar's saying is that you can open up your phone to see if it's going to be there to update it, or you can go into your car. Sometimes as soon as you enter your car, it will then pull it. So you can then upgrade it from there. So we haven't seen
Same thing. I think this is early phase. Yeah, early phase of just getting it established, getting it installed, getting it working in the vehicle. I think it's a little bit more pure conversational at this point, but over time and phases, I'm assuming there'll be some amount of vehicle control, and then you start, and then all of a sudden you start really seeing the capability of having one of these, superhuman contextual language models available in the vehicle and what you can do, location awareness, where am I at right now and what does it mean to me as a consumer? And then all of a sudden the possibilities, I think, become a bit endless. But early phases, early days right now in terms of capability.
And didn't you love the press? Didn't you love the press? How they're like, oh, all the other cars can talk already. Tesla is late. I was like,
really?
Excuse me? Yeah, yeah. Oh, oof.
I mean, it's what everybody's been trying to shoot for, right? So you've got, everybody wants to have you want to be the access point for the AI in your phone. So everybody needs you to download the Grok app. You need to download the ChatGPT app. You need to download the Meta app. Then they're all trying to come up with these form factors, right? The pin and then glasses. Try to use it where you are. But everybody's been realizing that entry into the car, Apple has been trying to do it with Apple CarPlay for so long. They wanted to build their own car because they realized that what a person spends a third of their life in a car, whatever, some big number like that. So this is important. And here we have Grok in the car. It's going to be, I wonder what the usage will be, but it could be used a lot more than we realize.
Well, it's very useful for me on my long trips because, I'm listening to a book and I have a question about some issue. Being able to interrogate Grok verbally is going to be very useful to me. So I would use that a lot. Now, it would be nice for Grok to also take car commands.
Yeah.
Because the current verbal thing is just a disaster.
And soon you'll be able to wake it with a wake word. You say, hey, Grok, instead of pressing the button right now. But once you can do just, hey, Grok, just like, hey, Siri. And then depending on how fast the latency is, how fast it can reply, that matters as well. So that's Grok. Now, the other one is Q2. Let's talk about Q2, which is Wednesday. It's going to be an earnings call. Is it already built in? People already know production delivery. There's no surprises here. Or do you guys think this is a big earnings call and there's a lot riding on what Elon says?
There's a lot riding on
typically,
it.
yeah. I mean, this is going to be his first earnings call where he's fully separated and, from the government, I say fully separated, but at least, not living in the White House. And it'll be interested to see his commentary politically. Hopefully it's minimized, but it's going to be interesting how he thinks about the second half, how he thinks about the following year. I think it's all he's going to continue to try to drive convergence to autonomy and robotics. And if he has any commentary on what's going on, from a regulatory perspective, and then just tactically what's going on as it relates to Tesla's business in each region, I think it would have to be in the form of a question. I'm not sure he's going to offer some of that, but I think he's going to bring everybody back to autonomy and robotics and the convergence of that in Tesla's leadership position. And he would have successfully launched as well in June their Robotaxi service. I think those were the biggest kind of highest order bits for him. So yeah, it does a lot rides on what he says and his mood and his tenor.
If I was giving you the mic right now, and you can ask your one question at the earnings call, what would it be? Alexandra, here's Elon's waiting for your question. What's the question?
I haven't thought this through. I mean, I can't just pull a question.
Come on.
No, I have to think about this more than just pull a question. I mean, there are a lot of things that we want to know. We want to know is there delay in product rollout of the cars now. I want to know where we are in how energy is accounted for Shanghai. I think that's important. It's going to be a huge factor in the coming quarters. But is that my most important question? I don't know. So I leave it with those two at the moment until I've thought this through.
Larry?
I'm interested in this possible exchange of stock for stock with XAI. What is he thinking? I'm keen to get the 25% golden share or whatever method he comes up with, and then keen to know what his thinking is in terms of share for share exchange, what percentage. I mean, my own advocacy is to take a small share of XAI and XAI to have an even smaller share. I mean, of Tesla. So Tesla's valued at close to $1 trillion. XAI is valued, as of today, $200 million, $1 billion. And so you've got an exchange of 5-to-1. So if you would exchange 2% of Tesla, that would be 10% of XAI. I doubt whether he's going to give up 10% of XAI. I think closer to 5% of XAI, that sort of exchange. And of course, the XAI shares of Tesla, the Tesla shares that XAI would get would be under his sole control because he has more than 50% of XAI. So that would be good for him, but it would only be a percentage or two just because of the differential in the value. So I'm very interested in his thinking along those lines, but I'm not sure he would want to share that with us at this stage. I'm not sure.
Probably too early.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm not sure he can share.
Because there are still 2 months before they get the proxy out. I mean, take 2 weeks to print it and all that. So, but the next 6 weeks are going to be lots of discussions about all this.
Yep.
See, Alexandra, he's not against XAI investing in Tesla or Tesla investing in XAI.
I got one of Larry's 2-letter responses when I talked about the investment. I got an NO, and I was like, oh my God,
no.
What did I do now? Yeah, he said no.
Well, I mean, the difference is in scale. I mean, the level of investment that we've been talked about is just ridiculous.
Well, it was $5 billion.
You're okay with $5 billion now, Larry? Yeah. That's what we were saying, $5 to $10 billion.
I think $10 billion is too much when you only have $30 billion. Honestly, and
I
again,
don't think any cash. I would not put cash in it.
There you see. But I mean, $5 billion.
That's that's my NO. I mean, no cash. I do not believe Tesla is in a position to invest any cash at all. At all.
And then the other thing for me is at what price? And I mean, of course, we can't turn the clock back.
No, the price is set.
Well, the price is currently set because of the SpaceX investment to be?
No. We've just completed a round at XAI at a fixed value, and that value is what will obtain. The share price of Tesla is known, and the share price of XAI is known.
So that fixed investment, is that the SpaceX investment, or which one was it?
No, SpaceX didn't put any money in. There was a round, and people put money in.
Because Elon said, no, we're currently not having a round. And the last round we knew was at 113 billion. It wasn't at 200
When Elon
billion.
said we're not having a round, the round was already completed and committed.
At 200 billion valuation.
Yeah, 200 billion, and not a penny from SpaceX, in my understanding.
Okay, well, that was not at all what I understood. Okay, but fair enough. So my last knowledge, and again, I seem to be late, was 112, 113 billion about 2 months ago. And
that was the number.
And then there was no other one since then. But again, so let's just say
that
you're right, at end of June.
That $112 billion round actually occurred in, I have to look it up. I think it's early May.
Okay, April, May. Okay, fair enough. So now we had a end of June one at 200 billion.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. What would happen is after the vote of the 6th of November, they have to do a new valuation. They're not going to freeze the price between end of June to...
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
See? And so my thing also is at what price? It's just because any investment, you have to, at one point, understand at what price.
It'll be there'll have to be a round associated with it, or they will go back to this round. Either the two. They're not going to set a price independent of
exactly. And I told it before. I don't think you were there. I think I told it in the space on Tuesday. Talking to my husband, who is a complete freak for all this, and he said, "Doesn't matter the price. Just at any price, the sooner we get in, the better it is." I'm a little bit more conservative for all this.
I mean, you want a price that a third party, not related parties, but a third party would be prepared to put.
And we went through Solar City. We don't want to go through this whole. It's not going to be the same hassle. We're in Texas. Everything is going to be easier than it was in Delaware. But still, we don't want to go through this.
Yeah. But by the way, just a point, Alexandra, just on the point you made about the date, they could come to an agreement now, subject to approval by the board, by the shareholders.
Correct.
So they could actually strike a price at today's price. So
yes,
probably what they've done. Yeah. Okay. Good question for you, Alexandra. Will Elon get his votes? So
if
November
retail aligns,
6th?
yes. Yeah. If retail aligns. So for the critical two questions, investment into XAI and compensation plan, Elon and Kimball will have to recuse themselves. There's no doubt in my mind. So that puts currently, and we will have new numbers middle of August in a month, that put currently retail at about 45% of votes and institutions at about 55% of votes. So do I think Elon will get on both those points the votes? I do. If retail shows up like we did last year, I do believe there will be lots of institutions for the comp plan, at least as much as last time, because who can be sane enough to be against a very ambitious comp plan? On the XAI, you probably split the institutions half and half, I would say. But so if retail shows up, he will get his votes, yes.
What about you guys? You guys feel the same way?
I think Elon gets whatever he really proposes as far as XAI is concerned. I think the retail and the corporate would be aligned as long as as long as the percentages are relatively contained.
Agreed.
When do you guys think that the Robotaxi monitor, the safety monitor, when will that person is sitting on the front right of the Robotaxis today, when do you think that that'll be removed?
I think there's guidance from Tesla that, this is, I think, I thought it was a couple of months, or maybe Elon responded or commented, but we would need to see the information. How many interventions are they dealing with to answer that? So it'd be a pure guess, but hopefully within a few months.
Yeah, my own assessment of that is it's going to be determined by software releases. The frequency of intervention is going to be determined by the maturity of the software. And I think we have to go through perhaps 1 or 2 more releases before we're ready for a candidate that will be acceptable to have no monitor. So I'm not going to sit here and predict a date, because these software releases are like, you can't determine, but we'll know on the next release what the cadence is like. I imagine that we're going to have monitors in the cars for the next 6 to 8 months. I mean, Waymo had them for almost a year and a half.
You know, when I look at these, a safety monitor is there not only for interventions, like a critical intervention to stop an accident, but they're there to prevent something that happens because there's Tesla enemies and Q that's going to do something. They want to prevent it. So far, what we've seen them, when they press that button, they were trying to do it in an abundance of caution. They just don't want the car to move, just in case. It wasn't like something happened, the car did something stupid. So I think that it's more about them feeling comfortable that it's the PR, the PR scenario. There is going to be incidents. There will be accidents. I did a show where I showed all of Waymo's accidents that they're having now this year in Austin. And it's like, lots of them. I can't remember the number, but it's like hundreds, 100 plus. So it's going to happen for Tesla, but it's a matter of perception. And that's where I think that the person's there really more for. So maybe a couple months, less so for FSD interventions is what I'm saying.
But isn't it great? We're 3.5 weeks in and there's no major accident.
So far, knock on wood. What do you guys think that unsupervised FSD is going to happen?
Where?
So this is a personal user like me here in Seattle that I should be able to use FSD. I like what Larry told me today. I think it made me clarify what I think it could look like. You tell me if I'm wrong, Larry, but basically I right now have FSD. So it's supervised. So I press the button, it's supervised, but I have to pay attention to there's internal camera. What could happen is Tesla could say, you don't have to supervise it anymore. You can sleep. But, and then they might do a geography. They might say, okay, you can only in these areas in Seattle. You can't do it in these areas. But then they can say, if there's something going to happen and I do an alarm, you have to take over at that point. There's a rule that I can't remember, is that Czechoslovakia, one of these countries did, that's going to come in effect in Europe in 2026, where basically they clarified that if you are driving, or if the car says that it's unsupervised, then there's an accident that happens, the vendor is responsible, they pay for insurance. But if they tell you and they warn you ahead of time, it's time for you to take over, you're responsible. So you can sleep, but if they did an alarm, then you have to take over. Right. I think that could be done with that. What do you think?
I think that's the natural next step.
Just reduce
phases, chunks.
Just reduce the reliance on the in-cabin camera warning you to take over.
I think what they'll do, I think what you'll see when we actually get another release for consumers is them beginning to relax that in terms of how frequent it's waking you up right now and basically telling you to either move the wheel or so forth. I think you'll see a gradual reduction in that. And then, it will happen in pieces and chunks. It's not going to be overnight. I think that's the more prudent way to
I think the butt has to be in the seat.
Yeah.
I think the camera will still be on. It won't give you a warning if you close your eyes or you take your attention away. But as soon as there's a warning, then there'll have to be attention paid or the car's going to pull over. I think that's the next step, something like that.
This year, guys? Or, that's what Elon's time. He says this year.
No, he didn't say this year. He said California next year, didn't he?
No, unsupervised FSD. He said
end of the year.
End of the year.
He talked about it. I'd be very surprised if it's geolocated. I'd be shocked if it's geolocated. I don't see any reason for it to be geolocated. I think that the only issue is the limits. I think the driver will have to be in the driver's seat. I think that's going to be the principal limit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
and
think so.
then there's going to have to be a takeover. That's what I'm thinking.
Good. Thank you, guys. Power panel. I learned so much today. Thank you, Jeff. Knowledge you bring in from manufacturing and how cars are, what's going on in India and the more affordable vehicles. Alexandra, as always, your knowledge of Elon's votes and the upcoming shareholder meeting. Thank you for that. And then Larry, just everything today. You're on fire. XAI, AI, Robotaxi Wars. That's good. Thank you guys very much. Follow everybody on the panel here. We'll see you guys next week. This is Cyberwolves. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.